Hello, Chief Meteorologist Rebecca Kopelman here, and we're going to break down the just whole situation of Friday and talk about what you can expect as we head through the day. And this is going to be a just kind of a complex situation, multiple parts that we'll have to talk about, but the main concern is going to be with the severe weather threat. And if you have any questions, I am happy to answer them, and we can, I'll kind of walk through it, hopefully answer your questions before you ask them. But we do have a strong spring storm that's on the way tomorrow for Friday, March 14th, and that has prompted severe weather threat and has prompted also wind advisories to post out ahead of it. So first thing you'll notice tomorrow is going to be the wind. Winds are going to pick up with gusts up to 50 miles per hour. That's going to lead to elevated fire danger across the area in the afternoon. It's incredibly dry out there, and even as moisture starts to move in, the grounds are so dry and the winds are going to be so strong that fires can spread really quickly in these conditions. That wind is going to transport some warm and humid air, and not terribly humid, but humid for early March, that will send temperatures themselves into the mid to upper 70s, and will likely see some records go down in the process. And then the storms develop, and thunderstorms will be developing on a dry line. So we have a very strong low pressure system moving through. There's going to be thunderstorms popping up in central Iowa, kind of western central Iowa, and that will turn into a line that will be very quick moving, and winds will gust up to potentially 80 miles per hour within that line. There could be tornadoes embedded in that line as well. And the most likely time for storms will be between 6 to 11 p.m. here in eastern Iowa, so east of I-35 and west of the Mississippi. But if any storms that pop up ahead of that line, then there could potentially be a higher tornado and hail threat. That would likely be a really short window in which that could occur, but it's a possibility. In terms of the severe weather threat, though, kind of a broad overlook here, is that we have an enhanced risk in orange, which is the 3 out of 5 here. And then there is this moderate risk, which is a 4 out of 5 that's been upgraded. And I'll show a bigger map with this too, but that's in southeastern Iowa into Missouri and Illinois. And then there's this 2 out of 5 that is in yellow that covers most of the rest of the state of Iowa. And I want to show this because it kind of breaks down each of the threats. And the tornado and hail threat would be more isolated and would be more so possible in the kind of early part of the afternoon, and with the any initial storms that would pop up ahead of the main line. And then the tornado threat is possible within that line as well. There could be these spin-ups that occur with the line itself. And then down to the south and east, you can see that there are these hatched lines here. It's hatched area, and that's where there could be some significant storms and some stronger storms, some large hail. But once again, I do think that's more so confined to the southeast and then into Illinois and Missouri. And then winds. This is our greatest concern, and there could be some damaging, strong winds up to 80 miles per hour with some of these storms, and particularly in this area here south of Highway 20, along and south of Highway 20, where we could have some of those winds gusting around 80 miles per hour, and that would certainly lead to damage, could lead to tree damage, large limbs coming down, some power outages, some structural damage as well, and anything that you might have outside that needs to be secured or brought in would probably be a good time to do that today before the winds start to pick up in general tomorrow, and then especially before this line of storms comes in during the evening. But we do have right now a quiet day, so Thursday, nice, comfortable, going to be a great day, sunshine, calm winds, all that. But the storm system is out to the west here, and it's going to be taking shape and getting its act together and coming on to the east. It's going to pick up some Gulf moisture, and a lot of that moisture going to be really centered just down to our south with some of the higher moisture levels and dew points and that kind of mugginess. It's hard to get that all the way up here, but it's going to still be enough to fuel thunderstorms here in eastern Iowa as we head into tomorrow. So we're going to first notice the winds picking up, and winds will be gusting during the day around 40 to 50 miles per hour, and we could have some gusts exceeding that during the day outside of the thunderstorm. So this is before the storms even arrive. There's going to be strong winds. That's going to aid in increasing the temperatures, but it's also going to lead to that elevated fire risk. And then through the night with the thunderstorms, we could have some stronger gusts within those storms. And we stay breezy into Saturday as the low pressure system moves through, and we're on the back side of it there. We'll then have temperatures themselves climbing to the 70s and near 80 degrees tomorrow, and that will likely take down the records that were all set on March 14th, 2012. So we'll break those records, it seems, across the area, or at least tie them. And temperatures of this level here, we're talking 30, 35 degrees above normal for this time of year. And that's also indicating the strength of the storm, but also the intensity that will be in the atmosphere, as these warmer temperatures will kind of correlate to the fuel and the instability and the energy that's available for these storms to develop and to strengthen. So once again, this severe outlook does have, kind of zoom in on the area, the eastern Iowa under either a 2, 3, or 4, technically, in the far southeast, out of 5 on the scale here. And it doesn't matter if you're further north or further south. Honestly, there's a risk across the board, but what these colors mean and the higher numbers indicating the possibility of some more intense storms and the possibility of some more widespread storms. The thing about what will happen on Friday is that this is going to be a line. It's going to kind of be a one and done situation outside of if any storms pop ahead of that line. But the main line of storms comes through, it'll be moving through very quickly, and it will have some very strong winds with it, and it will last, up to 20 minutes maybe, pass on by, and then that severe threat will continue to the east. But there's the possibility that it could leave behind, unfortunately, quite a bit of damage, especially if we're talking some 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts with some of these storms that can often lead to problems with power outages and such, and not so much of an issue with, crops this time of year because we're not even planting yet. But this is a early spring storm though, and very typical. We can get these early storms that produce severe weather on one side. There's going to be snow falling to the north and west, and a lot of times these storms can lead to quite a bit of hail, but because we have a lot of wind shear and such just strong, fast winds throughout the atmosphere, likely won't lead to a lot of hail development, especially in our neck of the woods here, but further down to the south, large hail and some of the stronger tornadoes, more so a possibility, which would include this area here down into far southeastern Iowa, but Missouri and Illinois here included in that. So the time frame still remains at that 6 to 8 p.m. or 6 to 11 p.m. time, excuse me. And just to walk you through the day, Friday, we'll have the winds picking up, sunshine to start the day. And even predictor here is trying to maybe show a few little storms developing out ahead of that main line. And so those would be the ones that we'd have to watch. I would think more so further down to the south, where some better moisture is and some higher moisture levels. And the reason why that is important is because the higher moisture levels would support storms that would be more surface based, that would produce tornadoes. However, the risk for still strong winds is there with this line of storms that will come on through, and that'll be primarily after 6 p.m. And I'm erring on the side of a little bit earlier, but it's possible that we may not see this line until closer to 7 in our western counties. But you can see it out here in Des Moines. This is 6 p.m. This is just one model showing one example of one thing, but this line will scoot quickly to the east and coming through Cedar Rapids, Waterloo between 7 to 9 p.m. and then moving to the east and out of the area largely by 11 p.m. or midnight. So it's going to be a short window of time that those storms are affecting the area and even just affecting you, but they could do quite a bit of damage, unfortunately, because of the ingredients in place leading to very strong wind gusts. And then this storm moves on by, maybe a few scattered showers linger, and you can see some of the snow on the backside in the northwest, and we're just dealing with the wind and we kind of move on along there. Then in terms of just breaking this all down, one go here, fast line of storms coming through between 6 to 11 p.m. there could be some storms out ahead of that line that would pose more of a threat of large hail and tornadoes. But this line will have strong damaging winds that could gust 60 to 80 miles per hour, leading to damage to trees, possibly power outages, structural damage possible as well. And then embedded tornadoes within that line are possible, where there could be these spin ups that occur with the line because of the spin in the atmosphere. But the damaging wind threat is the primary concern here, and either one would do damage at the end of the day. So in terms of what you can do to deal with this, and it's not meant to scare anybody at all. I know that there have been some, you see this line of storms coming through, and it can make you think about the derecho, and I've gotten already a couple questions about derechos. And the one thing I want to say about that is that this is a squall line, and squall lines come through all the time. Squall lines are not all derechos, but derechos are squall lines. So not every squall line is going to be a derecho, but a derecho is essentially a squall line. So the impacts are similar in the respect of, we're talking straight line winds that can cause damage, but derechos are these massive storms that are traveling for over 400 miles, and they will have very frequent gusts of 75 miles per hour or greater. And also not every derecho is what happened in 2020. So this is not meant to cause any panic. It's not meant to cause any concern in that respect that, anything like that is happening again. But it is a reminder that severe weather occurs, and we have to still prepare for it regardless of if it's, one extreme or the other. So the best thing to do right now is to review the safety plan with your family, check your weather safe area, and just make sure everybody knows where to go. Bring in and secure any patio furniture if you maybe brought some stuff outside after the nice weather that's been coming around here. We're going to want to bring in, maybe put the garbage cans and bins inside the garage and anything that might be outside. And then check your emergency kit and make sure you're checking the forecast from reliable sources. I'll be back at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning with another update, as we will continue to kind of fine tune this forecast. We'll be able to see some kind of little details as the storm gets closer. And then make sure you have multiple ways to get warnings. And so that includes having the iWS News Now WX app. You can get alerts to your phone, but you also want to make sure that you have something like a weather radio, or you're listening to a radio station that will give you those alerts, or a TV station as well. And we'll, of course, be broadcasting as these storms are coming through as warranted if any warnings come across. And just make sure you're staying tuned in, because this will happen in the evening hours, and there will likely be some sort of watch posted prior to the storms. And that will be an indication that, okay, we're really seeing everything kind of come together, and then eventually warnings will get issued. So definitely just want to make sure you're keeping an eyeball on things. You can enjoy the nice weather for now. We'll have some nice, warm, just windy weather during the day Friday, and then the storms coming through in the evening tomorrow. Garrett, you have any additions over there?
You got most of that.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, we're continuing to just watch everything as it comes in. If you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat, and I can hopefully answer them. But hopefully I answered all of your questions. And we're going to have these storms coming in and leading to the potential for some strong damaging winds, unfortunately. And just, we've been watching this for quite some time and knew there's going to be a pretty potent spring storm. And it's all about these little details, about the timing and about the ingredients that are in the atmosphere at the time, and anything that can lead to storms developing. And so one thing that we are really watching is, outside of this time frame, which is kind of our main time frame with that line of storms, is going to be if anything does get triggered ahead of that line. If any storms can actually develop ahead of that line, that would be that would pose a tornado and a hail threat. I do think that would be a pretty short window, and there could be a storm or two that develops, and then it would really be that damaging wind threat that would take over at that point. But that's kind of the main deal here. From 6 to 11 p.m. would be the strong winds that could gust as high as 80 miles per hour. And if you have plans on Friday evening, you're planning to be out and about, just would, think about when you're going to be driving and consider staying where you are or leaving earlier or leaving later, just depending on what part of the area you're in and what's going on at the time, and trying to stay off the roads, especially once the sun sets and it starts to get dark outside and these storms are moving through. That can certainly get dangerous if there's any debris or you're just having a tough time seeing on the roads as the rain's coming down and such. And like I said, it'll pass through the area fairly quickly, thankfully, but could leave behind some damage, unfortunately, in its wake. I did want to see if I could pull up a few things about the storms, and this is about a severe storm. So winds are, when we get a severe warning, winds are 58 miles per hour or greater, hail at quarter size or larger, and the possibility of a tornado. I was looking for the severe storms and the WIA, because something that could happen as well is when we go from that base thunderstorm, severe thunderstorm, 58 miles per hour and quarter size hail, when it gets up to a 70 mile per hour wind and golf ball size hail, the sirens, the outdoor warning system, gets triggered in a lot of locations for those higher end storms once you get to 70 miles per hour or the golf ball size hail. And then when we get to the next level, if we do see winds that get to 80 miles per hour or greater and baseball size hail, and I think the wind would maybe be the side that it would be more of a possibility, that would trigger the cell phone alerts that you typically get for tornadoes and for flash floods. And so that would go to your phone, and that would definitely be an indication of a very strong thunderstorm coming through. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And if we're getting to those 70, 80 mile per hour wind gusts, we'll probably be in continuous coverage. And you can watch that on online as well as on the air on CBS 2 and Fox 28 here in Eastern Iowa. The other thing I'll go through here just would be some options for having multiple sources of warning. And it would be important to have more than one, usually recommend at least two, and that's not including the, I pulled up Garrett's, so there he is. But that does not include the outdoor warning system. That would not be one of the options here. I'm saying two outside of that, because you're not going to be able to always hear the sirens, especially if you're inside, and they're not always going to sound for every single warning. So having an app on your phone, making sure you have a weather radio and checking the batteries. You can also tune into a radio station or have the TV on, and then you'll see that information scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Social media, we have alerts that do trigger automatically on our social media, but I would definitely suggest making sure you have at least two of those ways, because you want to make sure you're getting the information up to date as possible. And if you're looking for some guidance on a severe weather safety kit, having batteries, a cell phone, a helmet, first aid kit, flashlight, having some snacks, keeping your weather radio with you, water and such, and just having that in your weather safe area would be important, because then you don't have to worry about getting all that together. So it's already there. And if you have to take shelter, then it's all there for you. And having some extra shoes, probably not a bad idea, especially if you're in the house not always wearing shoes and anything were to happen, then you don't have to worry about that. But that's, hopefully not a situation we all have to be in. But we want to make sure that we're prepared. And the worst thing is that we're just prepared for the next time. And well, I guess the best thing is that we're just prepared for the next time. But just to kind of go through things again, if you're just joining, then we're going to have the wind picking up through the day tomorrow. We're going to have some a lot of warmth as temperatures make their way into the upper 70s and break records. And then it's these thunderstorms. We're going to have a fuel around 4 storms as we go through the day tomorrow. And there's going to be a strong low pressure system coming through, leading to these thunderstorms that will be capable of producing strong winds and tornadoes. The threat for Eastern Iowa's greatest south of Highway 20, where I do think there may be more some more of the stronger storms with that line coming through after 6 p.m. and there could be embedded tornadoes as well. But still to the north, they're in the yellow there could still be some strong storms. And I would just say everyone's under the severe risk, and we'll be watching this closely as it evolves. But if any storms develop out ahead of this main line here, they could pose as well a tornado and a hail risk. We'll then have this line of storms coming through, and you can see how the northern side of the line starts to lose some of those darker colors and it stays together further down to the south. So between 6 to 11 p.m., we'll be watching that line come across, and with strong winds being the primary threat, and then some rain lingering through the night. But quick moving storms. So when warnings are issued, you want to be ready to act quickly and be prepared to take shelter. And it doesn't matter if it's a severe thunderstorm or it's a tornado, either one can do damage. You don't want to be near the windows, interior room, lowest level of your home. And if you do have plans to make sure you know where you can shelter, make sure you are prepared to stay if you need to as these storms are coming through, and try and stay off the roads during that time. But we're going to be keeping a close eye on things as we head through the day tomorrow, and we'll have some more updates for you. You can see some more information at the article that's linked in the description with at iowasnewsnow.com, and we'll have updates on air through the day today, and we'll of course keep you updated tomorrow too, because we still have a lot of time before this comes on through. So I did want to pull up this one just to show that severe threat is pretty extensive in the area and the Midwest. And the 3 out of 5 in orange here is indicating some widespread storms and more numerous storms. And then this area in red is kind of not, it really isn't one that we see too often, especially in March, but a 4 out of 5 moderate risk here for severe weather, indicating some intense storms and some widespread storms. And unfortunately, there could be some very strong winds as well as tornadoes that could be a concern into the night after dark. So that is a concern there through portions of Missouri and Illinois as we go through Friday night. So especially if you're traveling perhaps in the area, the severe threat does continue to the east. And if you do have travel plans, I'd suggest trying to go as early as possible, and then deciding if you have to leave later to maybe just have to hold out until the storms pass, or wait until we get into the morning, because the storms will be moving pretty quick, around 50 miles per hour or so, but you might catch up to them. You don't want to do that. But we are going to have these strong storms coming through, and you just want to make sure you're prepared, staying aware, and have multiple ways to get warning, as the main batch of storms we're watching will be between 6 to 11 p.m. on Friday. So hope everybody has a great day. Enjoy the nice weather, do your preps, and then we'll be just keeping our eye to the sky on Friday, and of course keeping you updated. Meteorologist Garrett Hyde is working on some things, but he'll be out in the road warrior tomorrow giving you a look at the storms, and as long as we can safely do so, of course. And meteorologist Casey Frericks will be in the studio. I'll probably be here as we watch the situation evolve tomorrow, and we'll continue to give you the latest updates. So have a great day and stay safe.